everyone, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. I hope you are doing wonderful. Welcome back, or if you have already been here. If not, welcome to me in my home with the tablecloth behind me. Today we're just gonna kind of run through my standard drag makeup gig. We're gonna go ahead and show you what I do and how I do it. So we're gonna focus today on one palette that I was recently gifted that I'm really excited about. I was gifted this Kaleidoscope palette. It's a Pro Fusion palette, but it has so much going on. I was playing with it the other night, doing some swatches and stuff. These glitters work really nice when wet. It has a nice range of shadows, and these over here, these kind of contours and I guess I don't know, really bronzy kind of shades over here. I'm going to try to do all of my contour, blush, illuminator, and eyeshadow with that palette. So we're going to go ahead and give this a shot. It's still going to be the same kind of process, just using this product instead of all the little individual products that I would normally use. So without further ado, let's go ahead and start getting into this. Let's go ahead and get my face shaved. Let's go ahead and get my hair up, and we will be right back to go ahead and start the makeup. Okay, guys, we are back from getting. Hello. There's a cat. Okay, so we are back. We have our face shaved and we have our hair thrown up into a messy bun, and it is time to go ahead and start this mug. The first thing we're gonna do is prime. We are gonna go ahead and use our e.l.f. Poreless Putty Primer. I forgot what it was called for a second. And just go ahead and slather our face with this stuff. Alrighty, now that we are a beautifully primed egg, we are going to go ahead and start with our foundation. So for our foundation, we're going to use Krylon TV Paint Stick in the shade NB4. And I am running desperately low. So we're going to scrape out of this. This is what Miss Quarantine has got me in this situation. Okay. I love this one because, as a drag queen, we have a lot on our faces to kind of cover up. And essentially, our step for foundation is just to erase our structure so that we can begin to draw on new, more, preferable features for the art of the female illusion. Normally, I just have the stick and slather it on. But, of course, there is no more stick left to slather it on with. Okay, now that we have got on our new skin, we're going to go ahead and start shaping our face with another cream color. We are going to use the Clown White Cream by Maron. I like this one because it's wet and it stays really nice and easy to work with for me. I like to begin taking my highlight up to my nose so that it essentially begins to start the reshaping process of not just bringing out my upper cheekbone, but starting to chisel down my nose as well by essentially bringing in my nose to look like it's part of my cheek. So it's almost like this part here is a little less prominent. So now you see all the places we have highlighted are places we're going to want to go ahead and pop. What I'm not going to do with this, what a lot of queens do with their cheeks, is they bring it all the way out to their hairline. I am not going to do that. And if I do, by chance, just put on too much and it blends out that far, I always contour and shade downwards, into my face to go ahead and create a more centered and concentrated kind of thing here as opposed to all of this. Now I'm going to go ahead and pat just a slight bit more right under the eyes of that cream highlight. Now we're going to go ahead and take our trusty Coty Airspun powder in translucent extra coverage, and we are going to shake some of that into the lid. Magical. And now we are just going to go ahead and take a generous amount of the powder right here and just kind of pop that in. First I do the highlight on my cheeks, and then all the rest of my face just kind of gets powdered right after that in no particular order. Make sure to bring it down your neck a little, where you brought your foundation. Now that we have our entire face powdered, we're just gonna go ahead and take a fluffy brush and dust off all of the excess. Now that we've got ourselves all powdered and then dusted off, we're gonna take a generous amount of this airspun powder again, and we are gonna dab it right under our eyes. And we're not gonna really press that in. This is really just a protective layer of powder that will help in case we get fallout from our eyeshadow. This way, if there is any fallout, we can just dust it all off with this powder. Like I said, we're not really pressing. We're just kind of laying it right there as a protective layer. Now we are going to jump into our eyeshadow, most people's favorite part. I think we're going to start off by dipping into this shade right here, Adore. And then I just kind of start to pack it on in the general shape of the eye that I want. This is just going to be essentially a rough sketch of what we are going to really end up doing with our eye. This can be messy, just to make sure that the edges are kind of diffused, because we are going to blend another color into this. That's going to help define our crease. Now that we've got that color placed where we want it, we're going to go ahead and go in with a deeper shade. I think we're going to go ahead and use Hypnotize. I think we're going to go ahead and use Hypnotize right here and pack that in as well. That's going to go below this shade. That's going to be our defining shade for when we actually cut the crease. This is what's really going to give us that definition and kind of depth. Okay, now that we've got Hypnotize added in to give us a little bit of depth, we are going to go ahead and cut that crease, and then we're going to see what else we need to add from there. Watercolored misty memory. We're going to take some of that Clown White cream onto a brush. I normally like to use a flat, smaller concealer brush or eyeshadow brush, but I have this today, so it's going to have to work. Okay, now that we have cut our creases, this part does not have to be perfect. This is really just a guide for where we're going to start shaping out our eye still. What we're going to do now is we are going to take that Hypnotize shade and we're going to start patting it into the back sides of this and start blending it in from the crease, because I don't like a really super harsh like line cut crease. I like mine to be more soft and blended. So we're going to go ahead and start patting that in. Now that we've kind of shaded in with Hypnotize, what we're going to do now is go ahead and cover up the rest of the first half of the lid, first quarter, whatever you want to call it, of the lid with a lighter shade. We're going to see what we have here. I think we're going to go ahead and use Spangle. I think it's called Spangle, right? Yeah, Spangle. We're going to go ahead and use this one right here and fill in the inner portion of our eye. Wow, that shade is really popping. I wasn't expecting it to have that much pigment. When we do this, this is going to go ahead and bring back some of the definition that we lost while blending to the front half of the eye here, because where I personally don't like that super harsh crease is from like the front half, is like the back half backwards. You know, like from this point on. From the front, I like it to be just a little more defined because that's the part that's really going to be showing once we put on our lashes and everything. So I like to go ahead and get this to pop. Sniffles. What are you doing? So now what I'm going to do is take a flat brush and I'm going to go ahead and take some eyeshadow under the eyes. I'm going to take some of Adore and then I'm going to go ahead and define a little closer to the lash line with Hypnotize. That's with Adore, and now we're going to take a little bit of that Hypnotize right up in the lash line. Okay, so Hypnotize isn't showing up under the eyes as well as I would like it to, only because I don't think there's really enough space for it to really have its moment to shine. So I'm going to take something different. I'm actually going to do a deep blue, not super deep, but you know, a blue underneath, and go ahead and also give us that pop of color and contrast to what's on top. Why not, right? Let's just go for it. Okay, there we go. We like to have that definition underneath, and I actually like that. It's kind of almost like a violet. Is that what color that is? I don't know. I can't find my brow pencil. It was right here. So next what I'm going to do is do my brows. These NYX brow pencils, it's called, what are they called? NYX Eyebrow Powder Pencil. I normally use the shade Espresso, but they were out of stock, unfortunately, when I went last. So this is Ash Brown. It is a little light for what I would normally do, so I go ahead and I draw on what I need to and then darken up with a deep brown shadow afterwards. This does not have to be absolutely perfect or super sharp because we are going to go underneath with some of that Clown White cream and define and shape that brow as well so that we can go ahead and get this nice pop under our eyebrow. So now we are going to go ahead and take that white cream underneath. Oh, wrong brush. I'm going to use a smaller detailing brush to go ahead and get some of that Clown White. And we are going to clean up that brow. Okay, now that we've got that applied, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna use our finger just to go ahead and blend that out. Your fingers are your best blending tools because they give you the most precision and control. At least for me, I love to use my fingers for what I can. We're just gonna pat downwards. And I will take that down the brow as well with my finger, and it will help to kind of create that gradient and a little bit of separation between the brow and the shadow. Right at the beginning, I do like my shadow to kind of meet the very beginning of my brow. But for the rest of my brow, I like it to go ahead and be pretty separate and to have that highlight right underneath to give us that definition. Now what I want to do is I'm going to take a little bit of Spangle, which is what I put on the inside, the inner portion of my eye, and use that on my brow bone. If you are covering your brows, I don't recommend putting a shimmer shadow on to where you had covered your brow, because what it's going to do is it's really going to accentuate the texture. But if you are not covering your brows, like I use my natural front half of my brow, I shave off the back and just draw on what I need to. Then I go ahead and like to use the shimmer to get that pop right there as well to bring it out. I'm going to take the deepest brown contour color from my NYX contouring palette, and I'm going to go ahead and start shading in mostly the back half of this brow. Now is the fun part that a lot of people are scared of, which is contouring. The first thing we're going to do is dust off that excess powder that we have underneath our eyes. Let's just say, for my contouring, I'm going to try to use this Kaleidoscope palette as well. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. I'm going to dip into, I think we're going to dip into Russet and kind of see what kind of shade that gives us. If we need to go a little darker, I'm going to go ahead and go into changes. It looks a bit warm for what I would want to do, a bit red, but we're going to go ahead and try Russet and see what it does for us. Now, for me, nose contouring is the easiest thing to mess up, so be very, very careful. The trick is to not go too dark to make it look like you got punched in the nose, because the nose contour can get super, super muddy very, very quickly. Like this, I think the shade is going to be okay for us, because don't forget, we are painting for drag. This is stage makeup. It is something that you want people to see from far away. It's, you know, it's not your regular everyday kind of walking around the town makeup. And if you notice, when I did my nose contour, I like to go ahead and shade up in here too, just to go ahead and kind of shorten my nose just a tiny bit, and to kind of decrease the size of this kind of bulb. To contour our cheeks, I'm going to go ahead and take that same shade. I actually do like it on my nose, so I think I'm going to go ahead and try it on my cheeks as well. What I'm going to do is take my powder puff and fold it in half and use this as kind of a guide to keep my contour in place. And we're going to use this kind of flat top brush. Not kind of, it is a flat top brush. My thing for contouring is that you don't want the contour to go below your mouth. Yeah, that's one thing that you don't want to do, because that's an indicator that you've just really taken your cheeks down. When you really want to have this, you know, maybe that's not everyone's aesthetic, but for me, that is what I like to do. And I like to bring it kind of from my ear, somewhere in this area here, down to right about here. Just pat, 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 pat. The goal for this is to try to lift your cheekbones. As you can see, my natural cheek kind of goes down here, and that is what we are not trying to do, because we are trying to restructure our face at least a little bit to go ahead and give us a little bit more of that feminine bone structure. For our forehead, I know that I'm going to want to do something a little bit darker, so I'm going to go ahead and take Russet as a transition shade, and I'm going to pack it in to right here, bring it up around my temples. As I mentioned towards the beginning of this video, I like to go ahead and contour this down just to go ahead and make the focus of the face here. We are going to contour the perimeter of our face to make it smaller, or make it appear smaller. And then we're going to take a little bit just right under here, just right here, and bring it up to here, just to right underneath our ear, and then down in the jawline. This does not, you don't want this to be a super harsh line. I like mine to be buffed out right around this jawline. I don't like it to be a really harsh, like, but as you can see, that kind of shades this in a little bit and takes away from the severity of having that like larger kind of jaw. What I'm going to do here in my forehead now is I am going to color in these spots where my hairline has receded. I'm just going to take a black shadow. I'm going to take a black shadow, just kind of load up a fluffy brush with it. This right here is a scar. It goes all along the side of my head. It's a brain surgery scar. And it doesn't take color particularly well. It comes off really easily. So paint on mine. What we don't want to do is take it too far in. So now that we've done this, we are going to take a darker contour shade and pack up this same flat top brush. I like to use the shades from my NYX contour palettes. It's dirty, I'm sorry, but my NYX contour palette, and just kind of pat it onto there. And that'll start to give you a better gradient. I feel like the most important thing for my face when I'm restructuring it is to really accentuate certain features, which is the high points of my face. So I take my contour and highlight palette with NYX. As you can tell, this is a well-loved one. I like to take this one and this one on a big powder puff, just kind of mix those up. And then I just pat them on right under my eyes and in my other highlight areas, just on right here. I bring that all the way up to the contour of my nose. As I mentioned before, you want to go ahead and incorporate your highlight just a little up your nose if you really want to help to create that illusion of a smaller nose. It really kind of brings it together with your cheek, so it appears as, you know, this part of your nose just doesn't exist. I'm so sorry. Sorry. We are almost done. So now we're gonna go ahead and take some blush. I think I'm gonna try to use Memories and Marvel. I like these two shades here. I'm gonna go ahead and take some of those on this flat top brush. I like that. When I do my blush, I like to use it as kind of the blending medium between the contour and my highlight that I just added. I do always do my blush after I do my highlight so that I can go ahead and blend those together. If I need to later on, I'll go ahead and just pack on a little more highlight just if I want that to pop a little more, or if I took the blush up a little too high by accident. And then I like to go ahead and take a little bit of what's left over on the brush to kind of bring some color and life back into the forehead. Let's go ahead and take a big fluffy brush and just kind of blend the edges of everything. Oh, and I forgot to highlight my nose. I normally take the illuminator that I'm using, which I think I'm going to go ahead and take, again, that spangle right here at my nose. Woo! Yep. And just go ahead and give me that pop right there. Yeah. She is something, huh? Also, I can't find my fan brush that I used to highlight, so I'm going to take this paintbrush and we are going to take some spangle on our cheeks. I don't like a super crazy, like, I'm glowing. Oh no, I just want to look a little moist. So now we are going to go ahead and draw on some lips. My favorite lip palette is one that I got in a package from Anastasia Beverly Hills. She has been very well loved. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills lip palette volume 1. I don't think they make it anymore, unfortunately. I hope they make it again sometime because it's amazing. I'm gonna go ahead and take whatever brush I find that I think I can draw lips on with, and I'm going to draw on lips. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this shade right here, and I overdraw my lips, so keep that in mind. I do overdraw my lips. Now that we've got that lined out, I think we are going to take this lighter shade here, and we are going to dip into that and just fill in the rest of our lip. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and give it a little more definition on the outer corners and take the deepest shade, which you can tell is very well loved. I was wearing this. It was my favorite lip color for a long time. So I'm going to go ahead and take that and shade in the corners. Okay, so now we have on some lips. I went ahead and shaded in really all around the perimeter of my mouth, just a bit to go ahead and give us that definition and depth to what we are creating. Now the last thing to do is for us to go ahead and pop on a lash and some liner. Here we go. Let's go ahead and just pack some liner on. So now we're going to go ahead and move on to lashes. What I like to do here is use a standard 301 lash. It's a pretty classic drag lash. I've used a few times, but you know, they're pretty. They're a lash. I'm using Ardell Brush On Lash Adhesive, and I like this one because it dries really quickly, and it really just hangs on for me. The biggest trick to lashes is making sure that you let your lash glue get tacky before trying to put it on. So I go ahead, I glue both lashes with a pretty generous amount. Not so much that it's dripping off of the lash, but enough that you can see that every part of the strip is glued. This glue does dry fast, so I really just let them sit there for all of maybe 10 seconds. Give them a little, you want the warm air to really help it get tacky, and then just pop it right on. The way I do my drag lashes, I place the very beginning on the lash line, really close to it, and then the ending I'll place right about where the top of that liner is. Okay, and there we go. We have our lashes on. They are lifting our face nicely, and they really give us that more kind of cat-eyed look. Now all that's left to do is let my hair down and have some fun. Okay, now we are back here in our same old dirty old sweater, and it is a fabulous time. Of course, if I were getting ready for a gig, I would put on something sparkly and really get into something, put on a hairpiece and all that cool stuff. Probably, maybe not, I don't know, we'll see. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this makeup tutorial. I hope you learned something from it. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment below. If you would like me to do more of these types of videos, make sure to let me know in the comment below or on social media. I'll have links to that in the description. Thank you all for watching. Again, my name is Ada Vox, and it has been my pleasure to record this for you. If you would like more of this in the future or have any types of suggestions that you would like to make, just go ahead and let me know, and you know, I'll start making things happen. Until then, I love you all very, very much. Don't forget that you are beautiful no matter what, and I will see you all soon. Bye.